Okay, so I was preparing some files and I added a few files. You can see here it's called like student list, student number, and stuff like that. And I've put some contents into the files. I want to go ahead and open the files and use some different commands to have certain display, like for example, like the top of the file or the bottom of the file, or display just like the file one page at a time, stuff like that. So let's have a look and see. Let's display the contents of student list. So if you remember the command to display the contents of a file, it is cat, C-A-T, and then you type the name of the file that you want to display. So I'm going to go ahead and display student underscore list, like that. Now, this file, you see that it, you know, within like a split second, it just displayed all the names. But you will notice something, that it actually starts from halfway down in the file, going down here. So what it did actually, this file is about 2 or 3 pages long, and it displayed the file. See here, it actually starts from A and then it goes down. So that's about 2 pages. So every time you display that file cat, it actually is missing it displays the full file without pausing. Let's say that you want to display just the first page of the file, and then you want it to pause. You will use the command cat, then the name of the file, then you're going to use a command called less, but you have to separate it with the pipe symbol. Now the pipe symbol is just above the enter key. So in order to get the pipe symbol, you'll have to hold your shift key down and then the key above the enter key, which is the pipe command, and then you put the word less, like that. So what will happen now is you see that it's actually displaying that file from the very top, from the very first line, and it displayed a full page. Now if you want to go down line by line, you can just hit your down arrow. If you want to go down, you see it displaying, when I'm tapping my down arrow key, it's actually displaying one line at a time going down. I can always move up back in the file by hitting my up arrow key, right? So the down arrow will display line by line, and the space bar will actually display the next page, or page 2. Okay, and then at the bottom of the file, after you display the full name, the up to the last line, it shows the end of the file by printing the word end, and we know that we are at the end of the file. Now to get out of that back to our prompt, we need to do shift and Q. So shift Q means that you want to quit. Okay, so that takes me back to the prompt where it's asked me to enter more commands. Again, I'm going to just repeat that command there, cat student list less. I hit enter, you can see it display just the first page. If I want to go down, more down into the file, line by line, I can hit the down arrow and I can move back up into the file by hitting or pressing my up arrow. If I want to do the next page, the whole complete page, I will just type or press the space bar, and that will take me to the end of the page. Okay, or to display the next full page. When I get to the end, in order to get out of this, the key combination of shift Q will issue the quit command, and it brought me back to the prompt and close the file. Okay, now there's another command called more, which is very similar to the less command, but with a little bit of a difference. So let's repeat the same command to display the student list, but instead of less, we want to do more, like that. Now you will see that it actually displays the same thing, the very first page, but you don't have the option of displaying line by line. More does not give you the option to go up and down line by line. It will actually only go by pages. Okay, so it will go page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. It will give you the full listing of that page. It will not be able to do line by line. Okay, so that's the main difference between the less command and the more command. Now, another command is CP. The CP command allows you to copy a file, to make a copy of the file. So remember from our previous session, we learned about a move copy. The move copy will be able to move a file from one location to another, and it also will rename a file. What if we want to make a copy of a file? Now let's do a listing here, and we see that we have, let's do a long listing, ls-l. And here we have student list and student list dot bk, then student number, then student number dot bk. If I want to make a backup of this file, say for example student list, and I want to make a backup of it, or I want to make a copy of it, I can issue the command cp and then the name of the file that I want to make a copy of. In this case, it's student list, and then I want to enter the name of the file that I want to create. So this is going to be a copy now of student list. So I can give it student list, say 2, student list 2, and I hit enter. Now if I do a listing, you will see that I have my original file, which is student list, and a new file now, which is student list 2. I'm going to repeat that command again with another file. I'm going to make a copy of student number. So the command is cp student number, and the new file name that I want to create from this file, or the copy that I want to make, is student underscore number 2, like that. Now if I do a listing, you will see that I have that number, that new file. So my original file is student number, and the copy that I made was student number.2. Now why is this command important, or why is it good to know this command, is because, as I explained, that the entire Linux system, we work with files. Everything in Linux is about a file. And many times you'll have to come and make changes to a file. So it's always good, especially when you're making changes to configuration files, it is always good to make a backup of the original file before you actually start making the changes. Because if you make a change, if you start to delete lines and enter new lines, and then things doesn't work, and then you want to revert back to the old file, and you don't have a copy of it, you did not make a backup of it, then you can be missing a whole lot of information. Or if the commands that you enter cause issues on your network, or you actually want to go back to the default or the original file, and you don't have a copy, then it'll be quite difficult or impossible to go back, depending on how many changes you've actually made in the file. So that is why it is important always to make a backup of it. Okay, and the copy command will actually be able to do that. You can make a copy of the file, then go ahead and make the necessary changes that you made, and if the changes are good, then you keep it. If you want to revert the changes, you can always open the backup and see what the original file looked like, or you can always restore from the backup file. So the next command I want to teach you is head and tail. So these are two commands that will display the head command will display the top of the file, which is the first 10 lines, and tail will display the last 10 lines of a file. So we're going to use the command head to display the first 10 names in our file called student list. So student list, head. So now I only, instead of displaying the whole file or the entire page of the file, now I'm only displaying the first 10 names in that list. In order to use the tail command to display the last 10 lines, I just need to change the command to tail. So this is telling me that I want to display the last 10 lines in this file called student list. And you can see that here it's displaying the last 10 names of the students in that list. So as I had mentioned before, that you can use the cat command to display the contents of multiple files. Now let's go ahead and display the contents of two files that we have on the system. So I'm just going to do an ls, and the files that I want to display, the contents of the file would be student list and student number. So I'm going to be displaying the contents of student list and student number. If I'm to display just one file, say for example student number, right? You will see that all these numbers belongs to students in the class. I've already displayed the student list, which gives the name. Now let's go ahead and display both files at the same time. So student number, and I also want to display student list, student underscore list, like that. Now what will happen is it displayed the student number. You see the first file name was student number. It displayed the first file, student number, here. And then the second file that I wanted to display was student list. So it displayed the number first, and then the second file is the student list. What happens now if I want to merge these files together? Okay, let's assume that I want to merge the files. So the command for that is paste. If I want to merge the file together, the command is paste, like that. Then we specify the names of the two files that we want to merge. Okay, now it's important how you specify the name. Let's say for example you want the student number first and then the student name. Then you will have to specify the student number, the file name with the student number, and then the file name with the name. So for example, if I specify student number and then I specify student name, student list, you see what happened there is that the paste command, it took all the listings from student number and it merged it with this file called student list. And you can see that it matched in the same line, it matched the student number to the student name, like that. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So the next command I want to talk about is to redirect. So what I want to do now is the command that I run before, which is paste, which is the paste command. I basically combine two files and display it. What if I want to create a file now with that output? Okay, so the output that we saw when we did the paste command, it showed us a combination, right? Or it merged the two files together and gave us an output. What happens if I want to save this file now, or I want to redirect this output to somewhere? So I want to redirect it to a file and create a new file with this information. So I'm going to reissue the command, paste student number and student list, and I'm going to use the command that will give me a redirect, and that is the forward arrow, right? So what this command is doing is saying redirect it to somewhere else. So what do I want to redirect it to? I want to create a new file name, and I want to call it I want to call it, how about class list? Class list. Okay, Now, what this command did was to create a new file with the output that this paste command will give me. So before, it actually displayed the output on the screen itself. But when I run this command, paste student number, student list, meaning I'm combining the two files, or I'm merging the two files, I didn't see a display on the screen. But what happened, it actually redirected the output into a new file called class list. Now let's go ahead and open that class list. Let's first see if that file exists. We can find it here. And if I want to display that file, I notice I'm going to actually use the uppercase C, right? If I actually enter a lowercase c, you will that file will not display. So class class underscore list. If I use a lowercase c and I try to display it, it will tell me that that file doesn't exist because Linux is case sensitive. We must specify the file name using the case of the letter, the exact case. So in our case, it's uppercase. So I want to go cat class list, and now you can see that that file, the system, that command, the previous command that we run to redirect it to a file, and we specify the name of the file, it created that file and added the output into that file. Okay.